Hello everybody, welcome back to 60 with Omid. Today I'm going to be covering the Russian twist. It's one of my favorite exercises if done well, and then one of my biggest pet peeves in the dang world when it's done at the gym incorrectly, sitting on the ground. Really not actually training the muscles you're obviously trying to go for in the first place. But, really quick for people that don't know, the seated Russian twist. Knees mildly bent just to kind of keep some hamstring pain out of this. Trying to keep an arch in the low back, taking a med ball or those steps or anything like that, and then rotating through this. Now, this visually looks awesome. Some people tend to feel it in their obliques. It's a false feeling, in my opinion. And the challenge is that most people that are doing an exercise like that don't have the requisite core strength in the first place to actually feel it where they want. Even worse, most people that are doing that exercise sit too much anyways, myself included. I don't even do the exercise. I probably sit way more than I should. And the challenge is that if you sit a lot, you get short hip flexors. Well, what am I doing? Right? I'm sitting, and I'm trying to work my hip flexors to hold this position while I rotate. So I'm trying to get better at something that I'm already way too good at in the first place. This is one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people have hip pain, back pain, neck pain, all that kind of stuff in the first place, because they do this flexion too much. Now, if you actually wanted to do this exercise, I'm going to really quickly tell you the right way to do it and why we should really never be doing it in the first place. And then I'm actually going to teach you something that I do with almost all of my clients on a pretty much a weekly basis to teach them actually how to rotate. Now, I'm going to turn sideways again. The biggest thing we want to be able to do is actually keep neutrality in our spine while we're rotating, right? The only caveat to that is if you're an MMA fighter. If you need to learn how to grapple on the ground, definitely flatten yourself, hug yourself, try to rotate, get all that sort of stuff. But 90% of people watching these videos, at least, are not MMA fighters. So trying to get up into this position. The other thing I also want to do is the abdominals, their number one job is to resist movement, to stabilize the spine while everything else is moving. Then, when there's no load, they might move us and flex us and extend us and stuff like that. So if I'm in this position with a load, I'm not going to move my entire lumbar spine. That's going to stay 100% still, and all of the motion is going to come from my shoulders. It's counterintuitive because most people think if they want to get tighter love handles, they got to squeeze and rotate through here. But that's just going to move the spine in funky ways with a load and an angle that's going to cause a herniation 10 years from now. I've trained plenty of these people and rehabbed their spines. It's not something you want to do. And even if you could do it, most people stick abdominal work at the end of their workout when they're already tired, when they've already taken all the axial load, when they're already exposed to injuries like this starting to manifest. So, I'm going to cut real quick. I'm going to show you one of my favorite exercises in the world to do. It's really an eye-opener for a lot of people the first time they do it. And more importantly, I'm going to get to this in a second, but it's a closed chain exercise. I'll explain what that means in a little bit. So the Swiss Russian twist is obviously one of the best exercises to do in the world for learning how to rotate and stabilize at the same time. But before I actually show you what it is, I got a question for you. Have you ever thought about what percentage of movement you do with your feet on the floor versus your feet off the floor? Right? That's the difference between an open chain and a closed chain exercise when it comes to the lower body. And the idea of trying to train the middle of the body, the core, to stabilize with the feet off the ground, it can work really well for core stabilization and spinal, control, but the problem is we're training something that we don't do in real life. So then when we get to real life and our feet are on the floor, we're no good at it. So we got to train with the feet flat on the floor, digging our heels into the ground, and then the Swiss ball can really start to challenge the heck out of our core. Now I'm going to take this same ball, and I'm going to do it without the weight in a second. And I'll do my best to show you this, but I'm not warmed up yet. The glutes and the feet driving up as high as we can possibly get. Not letting this extend into the lumbar spine, but really driving the pelvis up and through. This now becomes my primary controller for rotation. My obliques now actually have to stabilize me in neutrality. And then what I do with this ball is I just create side-to-side rotation. It's really important, I'm going to say that again, create side-to-side rotation. You do not have to go all the way over to the side, especially if this is your first time doing it. Just a little bit of rapid left to right movement is going to challenge my spinal erector anti-rotation system. And that's it. I could even toss this thing and get really crazy with that. And this is going to go after every single rotator or anti-rotator in the entire body. It's going to teach my feet how to actually plant me and react to this, which is great for any sport that has reactivity to it and agility. And then if I wanted to, once I've figured out how to actually activate those muscles, then I can start getting big rotations. I don't really take a lot of clients to these big rotations because most of them can't hold themselves still enough to control this. Starting without the ball, you just interlock your fingers, and same thing. Pull the shoulder blades back, squeeze the butt. Start with just these. This 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off is a great little interval for training your entire body how to resist rotations. And then you can go into this stuff with control just fine. The last thing I'm going to say about this before I cut for today. We sit way too much. It's a 21st century syndrome kind of thing. And the problem is, yeah, we can, if you saw my caveman video, we can try and combat that as much as we can, but in reality, we sit way more than we want to. And there was one person that I heard a podcast with that basically said, we need to train for the lives we lead. I agree to a certain extent. If you're already sitting a lot though, that's one thing that we don't want to train, because when you get up from sitting, that's usually where most people's back pain comes in, knee pain comes in, ankle pain, neck pain, all of that stuff is when we stand up and start moving around. We want to undo the sitting position as much as we possibly can. So an exercise like this extends the hips, right? Trains the glutes how to actually stabilize when we're standing upright and tall and walking for long amounts of time and rotating, right? Walking in gait is just pure rotation. And everything tends to get better when we actually undo and unglue the seating position. So always kind of approach exercise from that, mindset. Trying to keep the feet on the ground, mimicking life, walking around and feeling good, looking good, rotating good, and everything else good. So that's it for today. I hope this information was very helpful to you guys. As always, have a happy and healthy rest of your day. Talk to you next time.